Hello everybody and welcome back to Once Human. And today we are going to be covering our build setup that I used during my solo raid clear. Now this build that I got on right now is actually a little bit better than that build by significant margins. It's hitting up to like 83, 84k DPS, somewhere around there. You guys saw that at the beginning of the video. And it's actually pretty nuts. Now, it's not done yet. I'm missing a good weapon mod. I just switched it today, but I got no controllers, guys. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here trying to get controllers, and it is very frustrating. And the reason that is because I keep reiterating this build over and over and over again, and I can't seem to just decide on something. But either way, it's pretty dang good. So let's get into it, shall we? First of all, the first weapon in our list is the Doombringer. Now this weapon is primarily used to apply bullseye and also get a little bit of DPS in at the very start when you're applying the bullseye. However, it's not the best weapon for a bullseye. That one would be the crossbow, where it gives you bullseye as soon as you hit a weak spot with it. This one is just a 65% chance to apply bullseye on the target. However, it's a cool reference to Doom Guy. Obviously, it's the Doombringer, it's double barrel shotgun, and it's very strong and it's very fun. That's why I use it, because it's fun. Sometimes fun is better than doing the most damage ever. Looking at you, shrapnel builds. That's our first weapon. Our second weapon is the primary gun that we do all of our damage with, and it's the Little Jaws. The Little Jaws procs Unstable Bomber after hitting an enemy 15 times. It also has a delay for the Unstable Bomber at 0.3 seconds, which I'll explain what that does here in just a little bit. And then when hitting enemies affected by Unstable Bomber, the current Unstable Bomber final damage plus 10%, weak spot hits double the damage increase, which is pretty nuts because that plays into our leg mod, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. And then for every 0.1 seconds of Unstable Bomber delay, Unstable Bomber damage plus 20%. Now, if you look up again, Unstable Bomber delay plus 0.3 seconds. Plus 20% damage per 0.1 second. So that's 60% damage increase. Now, I'm pretty sure it all works additive and not multiplicatively, so you got to keep that in mind, but it's still pretty insane, especially when you combine that with our key armor piece here, one of the most important pieces of our build here, the explosive front top. Unstable Bomber delay 0.3 seconds. So we're getting a total of 0.6 second delay on our Unstable Bomber, which gives us a total of plus 120% Unstable Bomber damage. And then the armor piece itself also gives us Unstable Bomber damage plus 30%. So that's an increase of 150% damage on the Unstable Bomber. But we're not done yet, because now let's get into the other bonuses. So Unstable Bomber counts as elemental damage and or status damage. So you're going to be looking to increase either elemental damage and status damage. In my opinion, elemental damage does scale better than status damage does. I don't know why. There's a few mods that I've toyed around with where status damage increase was technically higher than elemental damage, but the elemental damage mod would do more damage than the status damage mod. It's very confusing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but just know if you see elemental damage and it's a ton, and then you see status damage and it's a ton, probably pick the elemental damage first. That's just my experience. So calibrations on the guns. The Doombringer doesn't totally matter other than the fact that it's heavy style. It gives us extra bullets, so we can just spam 3 shots at it with the heavy style calibration. And then if you have mods like I do that increase mag capacity, you can get up to 4 shots like I do. So it's really fun to just go in and go pop, 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 and just do a bunch of damage, get bullseye on there, and then swap over to our Little Jaws, which also has heavy style. Now this calibration is a little bit more important because we have double elemental damage. So when you get it to a plus 10 calibration, I not only get elemental damage plus 6.1%, but then I get another 9.1% off of the plus 10. Now, these are low rolls on this calibration. I do want to get a better one, but I haven't gotten it just yet. Hopefully soon, though. We'll see. Now, let's get into the armor. So we have the 3-piece shelterer set. I will be going for the 4-piece. However, I don't have enough star cummies. I'm 600 off, and I am waiting on my server to get done with this milestone here. As you can see, we're slowly creeping up to the 33.3%. By the time this video goes up, I'll probably have it already. But that's why I'm only at a 3-piece shelter set instead of a 4-piece. Now, there's a couple different combinations you could do with this. So you could do 3-piece shelterer. Obviously, you got the key armor piece, and then 2-piece heavy duty set for another 8% elemental damage increase. Or you could do 2-piece Bastille set and get the plus 10% weapon damage when above 70% HP, and then plus 20% reload speed, which kind of negates the a little bit of the heavy style on the SMG, so you can reload faster, which could be good. Or you could do what I'm going to do and get the 4-piece shelterer set, which gives you just another 10% extra elemental damage. Now, let's get into what the shelterer set does in case you weren't aware. So 1 piece plus 15% status damage reduction doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? Best defense is good offense. 2-piece set, elemental damage plus 8%. So that just increases our blast damage for unstable bomber by 8%. Now that's actually the same amount that the heavy duty set gives you for a 2-piece as well. And then at a 3-piece, each weapon hit grants 1 stack of deviant energy. Every stack of deviant energy grants plus 1% elemental damage, and it can stack up to 20 times. So you're getting another 20% elemental damage after a few shots, and it stacks up really fast with this SMG because the fire rate's so fast that it's really easy to keep that up. Now when you reload, it gets rid of half of those stacks and you got to go from 10 back to 20 again. But that's not that big of a deal, as you guys saw at the start of the video. And then if you get a 4-piece, it actually goes up to a 30% increase with 30 stacks. And then you get 2 additional stacks when hitting a weak spot. So you're just getting those stacks even faster. You're decreasing less when you reload, and you're increasing more overall with the 4-piece. So that's why I want to get the 4-piece here eventually. And it's just going to increase my damage even more. Now, I'm also running a 1-piece Bastille set, which gives me plus 10% weapon damage when HP is above 70%. It's just a nice extra weapon damage in there. I was trying to find something. I was originally running 2-piece Falcon, which gave me crit damage. It was good, but overall, this was a little bit better after I had tested it out. And then obviously the key armor piece, we were running the explosive front top like we had just talked about. Now let's get into the mods. I'm going to tell you guys where to exactly to get these things, but just assume that it's at least hard mode difficulty. Hard mode and pro mode actually have target farms for specific armor pieces and for specific weapon mods. So just assume that I'm talking about hard mode and pro mode for all of these. So let's start off with the shotgun, the Doombringer. I'm just rocking the vulnerability amplifier, which Bullseye adds another 8% vulnerability when you give it to an enemy. To get that one, you're going to go to the Mirage Monolith and you're going to go ahead and fight Araxium. We all hate Araxium. Araxium sucks. Another reason why I don't focus that as a build, because I really don't want to do that. Next up, we actually have a few options for the Little Jaws. Now, all of them are actually going to come from the Treant boss, or the second boss that you fight in the game. And right now I'm rocking the Supercharged mod. Now I just switched to this one. You guys saw me using it on the dummy at the start, but originally I was using this one, Reckless Bomber. For every 1% crit rate, unstable bomber damage plus 0.5%. Now that's pretty good. I also had a really good roll on it, as you guys can see, but it did kind of get overshadowed by Supercharged after I got the Shelter 3-piece and the Bastille set and some other stuff, and kind of built more into elemental damage straight up. Before, I was building a little bit into crit rate because I wanted to see how that did, and that's actually what I did in the solo raid clear. So it's still very good, but it's not quite as good as where we're at now. So as you can see, I got fucked on this roll for this mod, but I'm out of controllers, so I cannot get another one right now. But it still outdid the crit rate build by quite a couple thousand DPS actually consistently. So that's what I use for that. Now I don't use Unstable Bomber Inflicts Heavy. However, Unstable Bomber Inflicting Heavy is very good for PvP. Just wink, nudge, nudge, because it stuns players. Hee hee hoo hoo. Another good option is Bombardier Souvenir. When triggering Unstable Bomber, automatically refill 10% of your magazine. And if you get a nice little elemental damage increase and status damage increase, it's pretty dang good. And you can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. You can shoot like 180 bullets or more before you got to reload. So it's actually not bad for over time doing more damage without having to reload, but it is slower DPS than Supercharged. Now, what does Supercharged do, you might ask? Well, triggering Unstable Bomber grants Unstable Bomber damage plus 5% for 3 seconds, and the effect can stack up to 6 times, which if you have more bullets in your mag, you're going to be able to stack that up even faster and hold on to it even longer. Now let's get into the armor mods. We're looking at our hat slot right now. We're rocking the Deviation Expert Talents. What this does is range minus 25%, but gives a 10% fire rate and 20% status damage. And then I obviously have a legendary elemental damage increase on it as well. This is really great. To get this mod, you're going to have to go and run the Securement Silo Alpha on at least hard mode, if not pro mode, to get that. That will always drop you legendary helmet mods, but since it drops you ones for every type of build in the game, it might take you a few runs to get it. Same with all the other mods in the armor section. Moving on to the mask mod, we are rocking Delayed Blast. This mod is very important for this build. before the bomb explodes. For every 5 hits taken, the bomb's ultimate damage plus 25%. And then we also have great attributes with the legendary status damage and the blue elemental damage increase. Now, this plays directly into us giving a bigger delay to get more damage. So we have a 0.6 second delay with our gun and our key armor piece, and then that plays into more shots being hit on the target before the explosion goes off. So every 5 hits, it's another plus 25% damage. And I believe someone else in another video, I'll link it here, that I saw, did the math. I think they said it could hit like 11 shots in the amount of time that it takes for the bomb to go off, which is another 50% damage. I could be off on that too. It might even be more. I can't remember exactly. Shout out to this guy though. And then in order to get that mod, you're going to run Securement Silo EX1, hard mode and pro mode, drop you your mask mods. Moving on to the gloves mods, we are rocking the Elemental Overload. This gives us elemental damage plus 18%. Now there's a few other options here. You can kind of mess around with them, but in my opinion, this is the best one that I found based on my testing. I also have the fast reload speed on it, which is cool. I could get a better one. Obviously, we only have green status damage and purple elemental damage, but I'm not too concerned with it right now because it is still pretty dang good. And then in order to get that one, you're going to run Securement Silo Sigma on hard or pro mode. Moving on to the boots, we have Ferocious Charge. Now, I've seen a few people use different mods for this one, but I really think this one's the best that you can get for it because a lot of the boot mods are conditional. But I feel like this one's better. Some of the other ones require you to remain high HP. Some of them require you to remain far away. Some of them require you to remain close. But you're always going to be killing somebody or something that is relatively close to you. So killing an enemy within 10 meters grants melee weapon and status damage plus 20% for 8 seconds. Now that's pretty dang good. I also have purple elemental damage on it and a mag capacity increase of 12%, which gives me that extra bullet in my shotgun. So that's pretty dang good. And then to get that mod, you're going to be running Securement Silo Phi on hard or pro mode. Moving on to our chest piece. This one is kind of like a filler. I don't think there are any offensive chest mods, which sucks. Now, I could get a better one. I could get one that gives elemental damage and status damage, or just more elemental damage or whatever. But I have not had very good luck with chest mods. I just like this one because if my health is low and I have to reload, I can just pop my heal and it reloads my SMG to 100%, and I could just get right back to shooting. So that's why I like to run this mod. And in order to get that one, you're going to be running Securement Silo Theta out in the desert on hard or pro mode. And last but certainly not least, a very important mod, like I had said earlier, is the Precision Charge mod. For every 10% weak spot hit rate of the previous magazine, elemental damage plus 4% up to 24% lasting for 10 seconds, and then reloading resets the calculation. I also have great attributes on it, another 12% magazine capacity and an 8% elemental damage increase. Now this actually plays directly into the weak spot hits, double the damage increase for the final damage of unstable bomber, so that helps a lot. And also pretty much your entire second mag is going to have an increase of 24% elemental damage, and then you reload, hit more weak spots, reload, have another 24% increase of elemental damage. So that's how it all plays together, and that's how it all works. So that's pretty much the build. We have a melee weapon here. I just have this stuff on here for the attributes. It's nothing crazy. I don't think this actually affects our other weapons, so it's not really that big of a deal to have anything there. I just kind of use whatever melee weapon I find, and I think this one's a lot of fun to use. And now let's get into the deviant that we use. I'm currently using the Shattered Maiden, and basically what she does is she kind of, it's almost like an oil slick, kind of like she goes up and inflicts this like this effect on an enemy. It's big debuff that causes explosion damage to do 50% more damage to that enemy. So it's pretty freaking nice. On top of that, she does do damage as well, so that helps. But the 50% bomb explosion damage is going to help a ton on bosses and single target enemies. However, I do want to state that in my solo raid clear, I was actually using the Festering Gel because when you put it down, it creates a barricade that can not only block ads, or if you throw it, it can actually knock back ads. But while it's active, it also heals you for 6% HP and 3% sanity every second. So it really helps with staying alive. So if you're going to be doing a solo raid, I highly recommend using the festering gel. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about the Cradle setup. Now this is pretty important as well, especially this guy right here, the Deviation Master. Having this equipped means when your Deviation is out and you use it, you gain plus 50% damage overall against deviants, which is pretty much most of the enemies in the game. Now Rosetta units don't count as this, but just about every other enemy in the game counts as a deviant. So you're going to be increasing your damage massively when you bring out your deviant in a fight. I am also using the handgun enhancement, which gives plus 20% damage when holding pistols or shotguns, and then reloading 1 ammo from reserves upon defeating an enemy, which is very fun with the Doombringer, especially when you can one-shot a lot of enemies. You can just keep popping them and never have to reload. Next up, we have the automatic weapon enhancement, which is for SMGs, rifles, and LMGs. Very similar to the shotgun one, but it only reloads 10% of ammo when you defeat an enemy, but it also increases the damage of those weapon types by 20%, so that is for the little jaws. After that, we got rapid aid, which reduces the cooldown of healing items by minus 30% and increases the healing effect by plus 15%. Now it's not needed. You could actually use like Master Tactician, which will increase damage to bosses in the game by 25% whenever you use a tactical item like a grenade or whatever, but I generally just don't run this because I haven't needed to, although I could probably increase my damage even more, especially on this kill clip that you guys are about to see. After that, we have tactical combo weapon damage plus 25% for 4 seconds after switching weapons or reloading. So that's why you saw me swapping weapons a lot when I was shooting the dummy. Then we have status enhancement after hitting a weak spot, status damage plus 25% for 3 seconds, just more damage overall. Second to last, we have first round blast. This is just straight up unstable bomber damage increase after reloading. Instant damage, which is for power surge and an unstable bomber. You get plus 25% damage on that for 4 seconds, which is nice. And lastly, we have bounty hunter because I'm using a bullseye weapon. After defeating an enemy, you mark weapon damage plus 25% and weak spot damage plus 35%, lasting for 15 seconds. So that is a pretty good one right there. So that is our Cradle. That's it. That's the build. And you know what, just to send her out here, we'll just go ahead and do one of these really quick and hopefully not lag out. The downside of unstable bomber is sometimes the game does not register any damage off a bomber explosion, but as you can see, 100k 110k off of one of those. I don't think we hit 80k DPS. Sometimes you don't hit 80k, but we're still in the 70s this whole time. I should probably, as you can see, this is the part I'm talking about. Look at that whole mag, no explosion. Why is that? And you don't get the delay increase either. That's so weird. But anyway, that's gonna be the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment down below. Don't forget to share it with your friends, hit that subscribe button, etc., etc. I'm also over on Twitch pretty much like 4 or 5 days out of the week, every evening, especially more on the weekends. So you guys can check me out over there at twitch.tv/DireSaint. And also, even if you have some suggestions to make the build even better, hit me with them in the comments down below. I'd love some feedback or suggestions. I'm never going to shy away from those. So anyway, love you guys. Enjoy the kill clip, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.